So I am here with Kim Kaase. Did I get it right?
Yes.
And if you haven't seen part one, it's below. You can see it. The link is there. Kim was diagnosed with cancer in 2016, which if you've ever been diagnosed with anything, but again, when you hear cancer, for some people, Kim, it's okay.
Yeah.
So the way you took the news so positively, but at the same time, you were dealing with divorce, which I forgot to mention, going through a divorce.
Yeah.
Divorce, because I've been divorced, so divorce is easier once it's all over. Going through it, to me, is the hard.
It can be.
You're going through it, even when it's, when you're both agreeing, it's still a hard thing.
Yeah.
You have cancer, and then talk about your son. And when did your son find out the issue that he had?
So we went through that summer. I was all fixed up, ready to go. The divorce became final. My son starts back to school in the fall, and one day he gets in the car, and I noticed he was kind of hobbling towards the car.
And how old is your son? I'm sorry.
He was 11 at the time. He had
11.
just turned 11, I think it was. And he got in the car and kind of burst into tears. Well, he's not a teary kid. And he said, "Oh, Mom, my whole leg hurts, or it's like my hip, or my back." And so, I mean, I'm all about solutions. So I said, "Oh, I'm going to call our chiropractor, Dr. Green, who we love. He'll see you. He'll either see you today or like tomorrow." And it was going to be Saturday. And sure enough, he said, "Yeah, come in on the Saturday. I'll take a look at him and we'll get him fixed up." Well, I can see as Dr. Green is examining him that his face is puzzled. Okay. And I'm not really watching the examination exactly.
Right.
I wasn't watching what he was doing. And he said, "Okay, Rex needs an X-ray right away." And I said, "Oh, okay." And he said, "Yeah, like his legs are moving as though both of his hips are dislocated." And we were like, he goes, "That's why he's hurting." He goes, "I don't want to do any adjustments on him, obviously, because..."
Right.
So we were like, "What? Like, that's bizarre." And okay, so we got an X-ray, I think the Monday, and sent it to his pediatrician, and she said, "Okay, wow, we need to go straight to an orthopedic surgeon." And we're kind of going like, "What?"
Oh my God.
And we got referred to an orthopedic surgeon who, doctors are funny. Like, they can be like amazing, like Dr. Green or my surgeon that I talked about in the first part of the video, or they can be just
cold and
this surgeon came in after he looked at the x-rays with my son there and just starts raging about the lack of medical care my son had. And it wasn't about either of us, but it was like, how could nobody catch this? And it scared my son. He cries again, again, it's not him. Wow. We sort of walk out. We knew, okay, we can't proceed with this doctor. But he had even said, "This case is so complex, there's only one person I would send you to." I'm like, "Okay, please send us there." And he sent us to an incredible doctor. But what the diagnosis was like a severe, probably the most severe that any of our doctors had ever seen, bilateral hip dysplasia, which basically means, most of us have a pelvis, holding a hip ball like this. His pelvis had more formed like this, and the femur had formed more like this. And
just the way his body.
And so what was happening is the ball of his femur was sitting way up here and just grinding away at his pelvis. So it was like I said earlier, I feel like that I was sort of put through the ringer with the medical stuff, so that when it came time for Rex to have what ended up being 2 years of intensive surgeries where they reconstructed his pelvis and femur on one side, went through a complete rehab on that side, wheelchair, walker, cane, then walking. That took 6 to 8 months each time. Then God. We did it all over for the other side. And he was just in junior high. It was,
So wait, so in junior high, is he using a wheelchair in junior high?
Yes. He was having, once he would have the surgeries, he would miss about 2 months of school, which he loved. Just saying. He loved that part. At the time of the first surgery, we were living in a 3-story townhouse with no elevator, no bathroom or bedroom on the first floor. So we literally had to go through his recovery by me hauling him up and down the stairs, hauling the equipment up and down the stairs. And so when it came time...
Wait, were you divorced at this time?
We were divorced at that time.
Oh,
that's where we were. We had...
Wait. So you gotta. So you were divorced at the time, and at this point, you already went through your cancer treatment,
Yes.
or your cancer
Correct.
surgery.
So by the end of that year, that's when he started having surgery, December of that
Got it.
year.
Okay.
And so we had just kind of settled, and then by the time we got through all the doctor's appointments for him, it was time for him to have the surgery. So he would basically miss December, January of school because of that major reconstruction. You can only imagine.
Yeah.
And then, and we would live with my parents for a while because they their house was set up better than ours.
Yeah.
And our pets would move with, like, it was just, all this. But then when we went back home the first time, we were in a 3-story townhouse. And so he would have to scoot on his behind up the stairs.
Yes.
And because I couldn't carry him at that point, he was too heavy.
Right.
And then the day, though, that we were sort of coming down the stairs to get to school, and he was, again, kind of on his bottom, and I was carrying all the things we needed, and I nearly fell, and I will swear the hand of God picked me up, like caught me, because there's no way logically that I didn't fall, because I had swung around,
Yeah.
That day I was like, okay, babe, I know we just got settled here, but we're going to have to move to a 1-story place, because I just thought we can't.
Yeah.
We couldn't. So we found that, and it was good, but it was... Like, I felt my higher purpose in that moment was, like, here's this child in, going to school in a wheelchair, like, different from every other person. Thank goodness he was going to a small private school. Then they were phenomenal with him. And overall, only 1 kid or 2 ever got sort of, snarky with him.
Okay.
But, it was, I just felt like my higher purpose was to make sure he came through this resilient, knowing who he was, knowing that this didn't on any level define him, that he was going to be okay. And he and I actually just talked. He just turned 17. We talked about this. He wrote a paper for his sophomore year in high school in the spring, and it was the assignment was to write about your hero. And he wrote it about me. And it was all about, and it just brought tears to my eye. I couldn't even believe, but it was all about the challenges he had health-wise, and how I just wouldn't let him I wouldn't let him soak in his depression about it. You know, it's like, nope, we're just going to keep going. We're going to go to our therapy, and we're going to be as positive as we can, and when we hit a speed bump, we'll go over it, we'll feel our feelings, but then we're going to bounce back.
Okay, you got to explain it. So you find out about your son, you're dealing with this with the 3-story townhome, and your thought is you're going to be there for his higher purpose. Somebody else would be thinking, why the hell am I dealing with this? Why am I dealt this hand? You're not thinking that. Why? Where does that come from? See, that's the stuff I like to find out.
Again, like, I just feel like my calling, my purpose on the earth, the reason I incarnated here is to help people express their own higher purpose. I think that's why I'm here.
That's cool.
And so, of course, you don't just come here with no problems with that kind of purpose. Right?
That's right.
That would not make sense. It would mean you're going to go through a lot in your life to help people who are, going through life. Pull that thread out for them. So it's just, I think on some level, I've just been, in touch with that in some way. And I also just see from coaching people for so long that so much of life is what we think about. So if we were gonna like have and at moments we probably did have a little pity party with him, but by and large, what I think about when I think about his healing time, and he thinks about it this way too, is that we laughed our butts off. Like, we would find things funny no matter what. You know, and with my dad too, like, we have videos. There's a video that I post on Facebook almost every year as a memory, and it's him in his wheelchair that first year, just laughing as he's trying to crunch his grandfather's toes with the wheelchair. And he's just like laughing like a hyena. But that's what I remember, is that by and large, we really we tried to make lemonades with the lemons.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and again, and not that we didn't at times have tears and hard times. We did.
Yeah, yeah.
But I just felt like, no, how I'm going to serve him best as his mom is to make the best of this. And that's what I talk about a lot. And like life is so much what we make of it.
Yes.
It's not about the circumstances out here coming in and taking over us. If we think it works that way, we are victims, and that is not a good way to live.
That's right.
Right? It's so much more about how we construct our internal reality and then project that out. And I want to have a positive impact as much as I can. I'm not perfect. I don't always have that, but that's really what I try to do.
All right, so this is a perfect segue into, and you already gave the answer, but I'm going to ask anyway. So, because I always ask people, what is their God-given talent? Because I agree. I think that everyone is born with something you can do naturally. If for some reason it just comes to you.
Yeah.
A lot of people never really go do anything with it.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to do something with it in business. That's great if you can, because then you're making a living doing what you love to do. But you don't have to. You could be a lawyer, but you're also a great mom. There's something. Right. So your God-given talent?
Yeah, it's pulling. I can see that spark in people and pull it out. And I learned that the first time I remember kind of realizing that is I was in, I think about 6th or 7th grade, and there was this gal in our class who nobody liked, you know. And this isn't a judgment, but like I lived in a really small town in Ohio, and you know, she was probably the only person in the town that lived in a trailer.
Okay. And
people would call her horrible names, and I just couldn't do it. Like my heart would just go out to her. But what I noticed about her in band, really talented musician. She played the flute. She was first chair. This must have been 7th grade, I guess. But she really wanted to play the clarinet. But she couldn't, at the time, afford to have a clarinet. Like she couldn't do that. So. And she couldn't afford the lessons and all that. And I said, well, I played clarinet. And, you know, I wasn't as good a clarinet player as she was a flute player, but I'll teach you. I'll teach you. So we would go into the band room at lunch. And, you know, I'd teach her how to play the clarinet. And it was like we had this solo we were working on, and she was doing amazing. Like she got better than me right very quickly. But again, I was telling you that people would call her names. They were real mean to her. And one day, the 8th grade girls caught wind that we were doing this.
And what are you, the 7th grade girls?
And I were the 7th grade girls. And this is the 8th grade girls. And girls can be so mean, much meaner than boys. But the 8th grade girls came storming into the band room, down the stairs. And Cindy was her name, was playing the solo that I had been teaching her. And those girls grabbed the music and Cindy kept playing. She didn't even need the music.
Oh, wow.
She kept going, and they were just so, like, that made them even madder. But like that moment, like that relationship I had with that person, like I could see her brilliance. Like she went on to play a lot of musical instruments. Like she was very talented. I moved away from that school in 9th grade. I've often wondered what happened to her. Like I've looked for her on Facebook, but I haven't found her.
Oh, wow.
But just, I could see in people something, and I had this sort of the talent to pull it out. And so now with coaching, that's what I do.
It's a natural fit.
It's a natural fit. Like I can usually see something that people can't quite see in themselves, and we can really just, you know, shine a light on it, because that's what we're all here to do, right? Is that thing. Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool. All right, so Kim, today somebody out there, somebody somewhere got diagnosed with either cancer or something else, and they're hit with that. Again, I can't imagine getting that phone call, and they're finding now they're going online. They're looking for answers, and if they found this video, what advice would you give to them? And I know it's kind of a hard question, but
no, it's such a good question. You know, I think the biggest piece is if your tendency is to worry, if your tendency is to, you know, project into the future that things are not going to go well, don't do that. Like find some way to like there are a lot of YouTube videos about not doing that. Like find some resource, find a friend who's positive, find it.
There's also groups. Are there groups?
There
like
are groups. There are lots of resources these days, thankfully, for social media and all that. But find a way to have yourself give yourself hope. Like no matter what anybody else is saying.
Yes.
Because the world will collude with us on the stories that don't support us. So we don't need that when we're already suffering with something. So it's just find a way to support yourself that is positive, that opens up opportunities versus closes opportunities, like that's really it.
That's beautiful. That's excellent. All right, Kim, do me a favor. Please give us your information. How do we get in touch with you? Your website, your phone number.
Yes. So my number is 832-515-6322. I'm easy to find actually on Facebook and LinkedIn. Kimberly Kaase, Kaase. That's the best way to find me. I'm revamping website right now. It's like, that's always an ongoing.
Okay, and please tell us how to find Craft Creamery. So I'm going to put that all
Craft
information.
Creamery, yes. So on Instagram, @Craft Creamery HTX, and we're at 1338 Westheimer in Houston, Texas.
Beautiful. Kim, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think I drank more than you.
I was storytelling.